They gave Mom a $900 espresso machine with a milk frother. Dad got a $1,200 titanium watch. And when it was my turn, my sister looked at me and laughed. "We've actually decided," she said, sipping her almond milk latte, "that you don't deserve anything this year. Family's already done enough for you, Jace." Then Mom chimed in, "This year our gift to you is nothing." Dad smiled like it was wisdom. Like their silence was a form of discipline. I just sat there holding a wrapped gift in my lap. One I'd bought for them, handmade cards, framed photos, and gift cards I'd scraped together working 2 jobs. One I clearly wouldn't be giving anymore. I looked around the room. Marble countertops. Designer chairs. My sister's new Tesla parked outside, the same one Dad co-signed for. I smiled and reached into my coat. "Actually," I said, "I brought you something." I handed Mom a white envelope. Dad took it, opening it slowly like it was another coupon for scented candles. But the moment he saw what was inside, his expression shifted. Mom leaned over. "Read the page." Her face went pale. Then she whispered, "What is this?" I leaned back. "Everything you thought I'd never notice." My sister leaned forward like she thought it was a prank. "Is this a list?" she asked. Dad's voice dropped. "Where did you get this?" "It's a printout," I said calmly, "of every withdrawal you made from the account Grandma left me. You remember that trust fund? The one you said got frozen by the bank?" Mom flinched. Dad didn't speak. I continued. "It wasn't frozen. You just rerouted the statements to your email. For 10 years. The room went quiet. Even the jazz playlist on Bluetooth cut out like it knew this wasn't festive anymore. I stood up and dropped a second envelope on the table, this one sealed. "What's that?" Mom asked, barely above a whisper. "The audit. From the CPA I paid for. It shows every transfer from my fund into your mortgage, your Tesla, your vacation rentals. You drained everything by the time I turned 21. My sister scoffed. "Oh please. You were a kid. You didn't need that money." I turned to her. "No, I didn't. But I needed parents. Instead, I got sponsors for your lifestyle." She crossed her arms. "What are you gonna do? Sue us?" I smiled again, not angry, just certain. "No," I said. "I already did." Mom stood slowly, her hand gripping the edge of the table. "You sued us." "I did," I said. 3 months ago. Quietly. Through a private attorney. You'll get the official notice this week. But I figured, you deserve the courtesy of hearing it from me. In person. During the holidays. Dad's jaw clenched. "You ungrateful little..." "No," I cut in steady. "You don't get to say that word to me. Not after raiding my education fund and calling it help. Not after telling me to get over it while you threw graduation parties for her." I looked at my sister. She was chewing her bottom lip now. "You knew, didn't you?" She blinked. "Knew what?" "That they drained it." She didn't answer. Dad stepped forward. "You think this little lawsuit will get you sympathy?" I tilted my head. "I'm not asking for sympathy. Just accountability. And the judge will see the wire transfers. The dates. The matching receipts from your trip to Maui. You think this will bring you peace?" he snapped. I turned to the Christmas tree. The gifts. The matching silk pajamas they all wore. The fake smiles they gave to their phones for family photos. "No," I said softly. "Peace didn't come in the lawsuit." I reached for one more envelope from my coat pocket. But it started here. I laid the final envelope on the table like a playing card in the last round of poker. Mom didn't reach for it this time. Dad just stared, jaw twitching. "This one," I said, "isn't legal. It's personal." Inside was a single sheet of paper. A photo of me at 18 standing outside my high school in a second-hand suit, holding my acceptance letter to Northwestern. My smile was real in that picture. Hopeful. Bright. The kind you only have before life knocks it out of you. "They never mailed the deposit," I said. "Said it was too expensive. Said I could go to community college and transfer later. I didn't realize until this year they paid off your kitchen remodel that same month." My voice didn't shake. I'd rehearsed this moment too many times. Dad looked at the photo. Then at me. "You're acting like this was some conspiracy." "No," I said. "I'm acting like someone who finally connected the dots. You didn't forget me. You chose her. You used what was meant for my future to fund hers." My sister opened her mouth, but I stopped her. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I'm here to end it." Mom finally spoke. "What does that mean?" I picked up my coat. "It means this is the last family holiday I'll ever attend." Then I walked out. But I wasn't done. Not yet. The cold air slapped my face as I stepped outside, but it felt better than the heat in that room. That wasn't a home, it was a performance. And I had finally walked off their stage. Back at my apartment, I lit a cheap candle on the kitchen counter and sat down with the silence. It didn't feel empty. It felt earned. For years, I'd watched them celebrate everything but me. My sister's promotions. Her engagement, that somehow never turned into a wedding. Her dog's birthday. They always had cake for her. When I graduated with honors, they mailed a card. That night, I opened my laptop and finalized the last piece of it. A letter to my grandmother's estate lawyer. The one who'd originally created the trust fund before she passed. He had no idea it had been drained. But with the documents I'd gathered, that was about to change. By morning I got a response. Formal. Grateful. The firm had opened an internal investigation. Turns out, misuse of funds from a legally protected trust? That's felony-level fraud. My phone rang twice that day, once from Mom, once from Dad. I let them go to voicemail. They could talk to my lawyer now. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the burden. I was the storm. And the eye of it was just getting started. By New Year's Eve, the calls had shifted tone. First, denial. Then desperation. Voicemails from Mom sobbing, saying this wasn't what Grandma would have wanted. Dad sent one of those guilt text essays, accusing me of destroying the family over a few dollars. It wasn't a few dollars. It was $86,000, gone. Money meant for school, for housing, for a future they never intended me to have. The estate lawyer kept me updated. After reviewing the forensic accounting, they filed a formal report. Charges were being considered. But the legal path wasn't the only one I was on. I posted the trust story anonymously on a legal advice forum. It blew up. Thousands of comments. Then a podcast reached out. Can we tell your story? I agreed under one condition, names withheld. The episode went viral. And the timing? Couldn't have been better. Because my sister had just announced her new influencer series, The Grateful Life, a cringy, pastel-filtered brand about privilege and wellness. Her launch post was flooded with screenshots of the podcast title. When Family Steals Your Future, a silent inheritance heist. She tried to go private. Didn't work. People dug. Connected dots. It got loud. And for once, I didn't have to say a word. Because the silence I'd lived with for years, it finally started speaking for itself. 3 weeks after the podcast exploded, I got an email from a reporter at a local paper. She wasn't looking for drama. She was investigating trust fund fraud and had traced a handful of similar cases to, guess who? The same estate lawyer my parents had originally hired. He'd looked the other way. I gave her what she needed: timelines, documents, statements. And when the article dropped, it wasn't just my story. It was 5 other young adults whose families had done the same, siphoned away futures under the illusion of parental management. The article didn't name my family directly. But our town isn't that big. The backlash hit harder than I ever planned. Mom resigned from her nonprofit board. Dad's firm encouraged early retirement. My sister posted a tearful video blaming cancel culture and claimed she was being bullied, but people weren't buying it anymore. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. I just watched. Because this wasn't revenge. This was restoration. All those years they told me I was selfish, dramatic, too emotional. Now they were the ones crying behind closed curtains. I got a text from Dad last night. You happy now? I didn't respond. Instead, I closed my laptop, walked to the window, and took in the quiet. I was living in my first home. Paid for, not by inheritance, but by justice. And I still had one move left to make. I mailed the final letter on a Thursday. Not to a court or a paper. To the woman who built the trust fund in the first place. My grandmother's sister, Aunt Marion. She was in a retirement home now. Still sharp. Still stubborn. She'd always loved my mom. Helped her with bills when she was single. She had no idea her generosity had been twisted into theft. Her handwritten reply came 3 days later. I always thought they loved you quietly. Turns out they just loved loudly, when it benefited them. I'm rewriting my will. The next trust will go to someone who knows what to do with pain. You. I folded the letter and sat in silence. It wasn't about the money. It was the recognition. That I wasn't crazy. That I wasn't selfish. That I was never a burden. Just the only one who noticed the rot while everyone else smiled through it. That Sunday, I walked past my parents' house. The Tesla was gone. Foreclosed. The blinds were drawn. No lights in the windows. No Christmas lights this year. And I felt nothing. Not hate. Not revenge. Just release. because I didn't come from them anymore. I came through them. And now I was free.